Hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Lost Caravan RPG. Tonight we are going to be diving into episode 2 of Dark Baptism, our Old Gods of Appalachia actual play. Now, here at Lost Caravan, we like to do all kinds of different TTRPG stuff. We do one shots, miniseries, and full length campaigns. This is a fairly lengthy campaign as far as things go, so we're just at the beginning now, so uh, buckle in and hold on for the ride. Now, before we get into what we got going on, I'd like to have a couple of words here. We got some words of thanks and some words of warning. So we would like to give thanks to our sponsor. That's Monty Cook Games, publisher of Old Gods of Appalachia. They're a fantastic company. They do all kinds of great games and products, and definitely give them a look. Check them out if you haven't in the past. And now, and now, as a warning, Old Gods of Appalachia is a horror RPG, and therefore not all of the material could be suitable for all audiences. So we do take our safety tools seriously here, and we've all gone over things that we do want and don't want in our games. But one thing that we can't really control is your reaction to anything. So if you get to a part and you're not feeling it, it's making you a little uncomfortable or whatnot, feel free to step away, take a walk, grab something to drink, and if you feel like coming back, we'll welcome you. And if you don't, then that's perfectly fine as well, and we'll catch you later on with a different story, maybe. Now, that being said, I would like to get in here and introduce you to everybody. Um, First up, we have Kian.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kian. You can find me on Twitter at uptight_chiffon. And tonight I am playing Ellis Witt, who is a beholden sage who knows the unknowable.
And then we have JD.
Hello, I am JD. You can find me as JD Lane everywhere on the internet. And tonight I will be playing Stella, who is a cursed speaker who becomes the beast.
And Alice.
Hey guys, I am Alice. Tonight I'm going to be playing Evelyn Harper, the curious sage who serves the green.
And Omen.
I'm Azunia. Tonight I'm going to be playing Emil Pierce, the gracious sage who calls home the hounds.
Sean. Who is muted.
I hit the wrong button. I am Sean. I will be playing Virgil Stokes, who is a loyal speaker who speaks in tongues.
And Taylor.
Yeah, I am Taylor, and I will be playing Yona, the vengeful protector who manifests the mountains.
Awesome. And I am Rise. I am your narrator for this evening. And oh no, did we lose Owen? Owen's back. Okay. So, like I said, I am the narrator for this particular story. And without further ado, I think we should get back into it. When last we left off, the party had split, which, as everybody knows, is the smartest and wisest thing to do in any sort of TTRPG.
Especially horror.
Especially horror. A couple of folks decided to stay back at the house of the Widow Bondi so that they could more closely examine this individual that they discovered along the way who seems to have unwillingly taken part in something fairly horrific. And the rest of the party decided, at the request of one Granny Thorn, that they were going to go off to her cabin and fetch some things that she needed so that perhaps they could get some answers out of this. And I think, to begin with, we're going to go with that latter group. So, you've all headed back to the camp, the Wanderer's Camp, and picked up a few things here and there. Evelyn's got her book and whatnot. Now it's time to head for Granny Thorn's cabin.
What?
Now, Granny lives kind of a mighty ways out of town. It's a bit of a hike, but she likes it that way. It keeps her a bit secluded and away from everybody else, so that she can do what she wants to do without people sticking their nose in for the most part. So, Yona, you know that this particular walk normally if you were to take it with Granny, would probably be about 3-4 hours. But then again, Granny doesn't walk too fast. And being all of 4.5 foot nothing and about 150 years old or whatever it is, speed ain't exactly her thing anymore. By yourself, however, you know that you can make the trip a lot faster. Now, you don't know about all these folks that you got trailing with you right now, but hopefully they can keep up with you. Is there anything else y'all wanted to do before you head off into the woods?
Everybody got a lot? Just in case.
Got a flashlight.
Alright. Y'all travel around here much? Or is this a first time occurrence?
First time running the woods at night in a while.
As needs be.
Familiar with the woods, not exactly these though.
Alright. Well, we got the lights in case those hounds come back after us, though hopefully we won't have an issue since Caleb ain't here. Most anything else, try to not pay it too much attention unless it comes out and makes itself known, then we gotta deal with it. But other than that, if it's calling to you, just ignore it. We're just gonna keep on walking, alright? If it's in the way, then we'll deal with it.
Sounds good.
I'll follow your lead.
She's like 6'3", so they are big, fast steps. Long strides.
But you don't want to stand. You don't want to stand between Yona and the goal if you can help it.
Step over.
And so everything gathered and everybody's equipped with a light source and such, and you head off into the woods. Now, Granny's cabin is basically in the opposite direction that the widow's house was. So you come in one side of town and you're kind of heading out the other. And for a little while you can follow the road. But it don't take long before you get to the point where you have to cut off into some decidedly less traveled paths. And now they are paths. It's not like you're trying to follow a deer trail through the woods or nothing like that. This is Yona's traveled this particular track many times. And Granny probably many more over the years. The woods themselves are fairly quiet, but not silent like they were before the hounds showed up. You hear a bird every once in a while, maybe the rustle of something small moving through the underbrush. Typical noises that you expect out in the middle of the woods like this. Now the sky's clear, but there ain't much moon tonight. Barely a sliver, so it's fairly dark. You've got the trees over top blocking out what little light. So you're not seeing much unless your own flashlights and such are pointing it out. Say that's a bit spooky would probably be an understatement. But then again, you're all used to this, if not this specific part of the woods. None of you are strangers to being out in these sort of conditions. If nothing else, you've been traveling around with a bunch of people in wagons for a while, doing Lord knows what, and getting into who knows what trouble out in the middle of the woods, and doing a whole lot of camping. And so you're heading out through there. I am going to throw a GM intrusion in here. So now, if you're not familiar, the way these kind of work is basically, because in a cipher system, which is the system that Old Gods is built on, GM doesn't roll any dice I don't do anything like that. So one of the ways that they have for me to kind of nudge the story in a particular way, or honestly just mess with people, is called a GM intrusion. Basically, I can pick someone and say this is going to a certain thing is going to happen. Now, the player has the option to refuse that occurrence if they want to. Now, if they want to do that, they have to spend 1 experience point. Now, if they decide not to oppose that, if they decide they're going to go with it, then they get an experience point. But then they have to live with whatever craziness comes out of my brain. Now, I did give everybody 1 experience point to begin with, so basically just for these instances, because it's a lot more fun if you have to make the decision whether or not you're going to accept it or whether you just have to live with it. In this particular case, Stella, as you are making your way through the woods, you shine your flashlight here and there, and sounds like something is calling your name
Mhm.
off into the woods. And you may not recognize the voice necessarily, but it sounds awful familiar, but you can't place it.
Hmm.
At that point, say the choice is yours. You can ignore this and whatever might happen and spend your experience point. Or you can go traipsing off into the woods and see what happens.
Well, Stella is no stranger to hearing things calling to her at any time.
Right.
Does this voice sound friendly?
We'll say it doesn't sound unfriendly.
Hmm. I'm gonna say that it probably hangs back behind the rest a little bit, just kind of listening, and probably slips into the shadow and turns herself into a bird and is gonna go take a look.
Okay. So give yourself 1 experience point. And the way that works is not only just making sure is you get 1 XP. Yeah, so you also get to award 1 XP to anyone else of your choice.
I'm gonna give an XP to Yona.
Okay. So
She
Yona's
may
got
have to
2.
come rescue me.
Very possible. I gave 1 warning, and it was if something calls to you, just ignore it.
Impulse control.
So Stella slips
Mhm.
into the shadows, kind of lagging behind the others, and when they're not looking, suddenly changes. And what does it look like when Stella changes?
It looks like um kind of a flickering of dark gray, smoky, and then like an explosion of feathers, and then bird.
So you managed to hide this from the others. just by hanging back enough. And they're so intent on where they're going that they don't really notice that you've fallen behind at first.
Mhm.
And you still hear that voice. Stella. 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 And you go, what kind of bird? By chance?
Probably a crow.
Crow. Okay. And this crow goes flitting through the night off into the woods, off to the, say it's off to the north. And for a minute, it goes away for a moment, and you pause on a branch, looking around, and then you hear it again. Stella! Stella! And you get your bearings and head off in there a little bit further, and until you find a clearing. And there's someone standing in the clearing. It looks like a tall man. His back turned toward you. And it's dark, so you can't see much else, and you hear that voice again, and it sounds like that's where it's coming from. Stella? Stella? What would you like to do?
I'm gonna hop down and try to get a closer look.
Are you still staying as a bird?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm still
Okay.
a crow.
The man doesn't seem to move, really. Stands very
course not.
still.
Mm-hmm.
And he's standing there, and you get the impression from the way, even though you're looking at this from behind, but you get the impression that it looks like his arms are held in such a way that maybe he's holding something in front of him. Like he's got his hands like cupped in front of him, kind of.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna fly around to the other side of the clearing to see if I can see what he's holding or why his hands are cupped the way they are.
As you come around the other side of the clearing there, and you get a better look, you see that sitting, his hands are indeed cupped in front of him, kind of like one laying over top of the other, and sitting kind of in the palm of that hand is actually another bird. Almost, you can't quite tell exactly what kind of bird is that. It's dark and you can't see very well, but it's almost like this indeterminate looking little songbird of sorts. And you hear that voice again, Stella! Stella! And you realize that it's the bird saying that.
Okay. I'm gonna get the fuck out of here now.
And then you hear, Stella! I see you.
Nope. Nope. I'm just gonna fly up into the trees and try to hide myself in the canopy.
So the first thing I would like you to do is make a speed check. Your difficulty is 9.
Okay. And being a bird, I'm pretty fast. It's 11.
Okay. You see this and you hear this, and every instinct you have is just like, nope. No, we're getting out of here. This is nothing good is going to come of whatever is happening here. And you immediately kind of, a little crow hop and kick off and hit your wings so that you can take off out of there. And you feel something touch your tail feathers for an instant as a hand slides past you, as something else that was kind of at the edge of the clearing tries to grab hold of you. You risk a quick glance back, and it's another almost identical man to the one that's holding the songbird. Except, instead of standing still, this one is quite definitely moving, and you see just an instant before you take off, you see that gleam in the eyes, just like those hounds had. That too bright, too reflective for the amount of light that's here. And they are not the eyes that you would expect to see in any man. No human being would have eyes like that. And at this point, the other one is moving as well, starting towards you, but you're far too fast for them now. And the last thing, and so I'm assuming you're taking off hellbent for leather?
Yeah. I'm heading back the way I came, looking for their lights to try to catch up with them.
Okay. And so the last thing you notice is, is these two moving after you, and they're not moving fast. You get the impression that fast is not something that they are really capable of, as they're kind of lurching towards you and moving in that direction now. And then you see that little songbird is now perched on one shoulder. And you catch that same gleam in the bird's eye. It doesn't belong. An unnatural brightness. And so you make your way back towards the trail. Shine of those lights in the distance, and by this point, everybody else has kind of noticed that, well, Stella ain't there. Before that, Stella was fairly quiet, so it wasn't like sudden loss of chatty Cathy or nothing. But after a bit, you realize, 1, 2, 3. Wait a minute. So what would y'all do when you realized that Stella wasn't there anymore?
Do we need to go look for her?
Is this normal? Do they just wander off?
Not usually, to my knowledge.
Is it normal for them to not listen to very clear instructions?
Sometimes.
Oh, damn it. Shit. I'll start kind of stomping back to see. I'm looking for footsteps. Footprints. So I'm not going to be much help because that's the only way I know to track something, but...
Well, do this for me. Do an intellect check for me. I'm going to say, let's make that difficulty a 12.
Okay, that's good. My first roll was a 1. This one was a 16. So
Okay.
look it up. Look it up.
So you turn back and kind of you see there's some scuff marks that you figure about the same size as what you figure Stella's feet are from what you've seen of her height and weight and everything. And you see, it looks like she kind of moved off to the side a little bit, kind of off to the trail, and then there's something weird there. Those footprints kind of scuff in a way you've never seen before, almost like air expanded and kind of blew the dirt around a little bit. Like if you were to lean down and blow real hard on a dirty surface, how the dust and dirt kind of scatters like that. And then nothing. You don't see any tracks going anywhere else.
All right. I know you got your books like Granny, and you seem to be decent with the fiddle. What's
Yep.
Stella's shtick? What sort of folk are they?
They play drums.
Stella kind of.
That's it.
Well,
I mean, she's with us, so there's probably more to her, but
we don't all talk about our works.
That don't seem too smart.
in hindsight.
Yeah.
Maybe, but road people are cautious people.
Mm.
Never know who we're gonna pick up.
I mean, that's valid, but forest people are just as cautious, and I'm about to let you into my home. And it looks like your friend here just disappeared into a puff of smoke. Feathers, possibly? I don't know if there's feathers left behind, but that's a Taylor ad.
That's not good.
Would we see a bird off in the distance then?
I'd say probably about that point you do see. Why the hell is a crow flapping around out here at night? Looking like it's run with the devil itself right on their heels. Crows don't fly at night. If it was an owl or whippoorwill or a handful of
bat.
other things, or a bat. But a crow
I just
at
need
night?
y'all to know I've such I have to bite my tongue every time the word whippoorwill has been said to not whistle like one. It's just like visceral, and I feel like I need to. But I know whistling's horrible on a microphone, but I'm like, don't do it.
That's all right. I hear it anyway, so.
It's in our heads, in our hearts.
I'm just gonna look dead at this crow with the most disappointed dad face. Just tapping the foot, arms crossed. God damn it, kid.
And you've
What's
definitely
up,
heard stories of folks who can shed their form in favor of a different one. Particularly with your lineage. Those kind of stories are not uncommon. But you've never met anyone who could do it.
It's flying pretty fast. We should keep our wits about us.
Mm-hmm. Y'all ever
What
go
you
dove
doing,
hunt?
Stella?
No.
Don't shoot me.
Oh!
It might be a stretch because technically seeing things that are unseen more for hidden things. Would I be able to at least tell there's a little something different about maybe this raven?
I mean, the fact that it's flapping around here to beat hell in the middle of the night is your first clue. But I mean, other than that, not really. Other than that, it looks just like a regular old crow, but it ain't acting like one.
I think at some point I'm probably just gonna crash into the trees, just exasperated, and then fall down as I'm transforming back into myself. And then I'll make my way back up toward the road.
Hey, are you muted, Taylor?
You are muted, Taylor.
I don't even remember hitting mute. I'll just go look and be like, found something you didn't like, huh?
There were these shadow creatures, and then there was this bird, and then the bird was talking, and birds don't talk.
They do sometimes around here, and it ain't good.
We should go.
Yeah, let's stick together this time. And I walk behind everybody. I'm just like, veer
Running
left,
herd.
go right.
Like herding cats.
So with that particular little incident, y'all keep making your way towards Granny's cabin. Meanwhile, back at the widow's house, Ellis and Emil have been studying this poor Caleb fellow along with the Granny. By this point, y'all have a nice kettle of tea. Want it? Granny has puttered herself into the kitchen and made freely with the widow's supplies and has a nice kettle of tea out there, and she's shoved one into Caleb's hand and offered to the other two of you. Caleb himself hasn't said much. He really doesn't speak or act unless one of you all direct him or speak directly to him. What would you all like to be doing at the moment?
Does Caleb seem like he is in shock, or that this is a like magic shit, something's off?
I would say between the two of you, because I imagine there's probably a little bit of talk and such going on. It kind of seems like maybe it's a little of both. Emil, you've seen people in shock before.
Oh yeah.
You understand what that looks like and how folk act with it. And there's definitely some of that going on with Caleb. There's probably some things that he is not consciously willing to face at the moment that perhaps his unconscious remembers. While at the same time, his memory being gone isn't quite due to that. There's definitely been some things done to this man that are less than natural and not the sort of things that medical science can explain. Things that, while Ellis, you haven't seen anyone in quite this same state, you're familiar with the idea of it. About how someone who works with dark powers and the unnatural forces can infect and distort a person's mind so that they don't remember things, or they do things that would be out of character. Things that affect more than just the physical body.
I am going to wave Emil over to where Granny is so we can kind of gather quietly. And just share with the group. Something is stopping him from saying everything that happened. And I feel like we need to know. I don't know how to make that happen.
Some kind of magical block that was placed over to him then?
I think so.
I'll explain why he keeps spacing out the way he does. Might want to say something, but just can't.
Granny just kind of nods along with you. I don't know what all those different symbols on there, but it bears to think that possibly one of those symbols has something to do with this block. And that maybe if we could somehow undo that symbol, then maybe that particular affliction could be taken care of. Now, my only worry is that doing that, you'd have to actually affect the symbol itself, which means that poor man's flesh and bone.
Thinking the same thing. Everything else he's been through, I doubt. I doubt he'd take it very well, but something we'd have to ask him. See if it's something he'd want us to do.
And something one of us could do? I am not keen on doing more harm to him than has already been done.
I'm not either.
Man has been through a lot, that is for certain.
This is a little bit of a stretch, but I am trained in understanding magic. Is there a way that I can just kind of leech the magic from specific symbols?
I will say, in theory, it is not something you have ever attempted before. But in your studies and learning, you realize that that possibility exists, though it could be difficult.
And do I get the sense that the magic has to go somewhere, or would it diffuse if we pulled it from the person?
It would need to go someplace else.
Of course.
Whether
Naturally.
that's into some kind of object, into another person or living thing, but it won't just dissipate like smoke on the wind. It would need to be, think of it more like funneling from one container to another. And the consequences, if you don't have someplace to take it to, means that it's going to spread out among whatever might be close.
I will turn back to the group. I can try to pull the magic out of the symbol that we think has to do with this memory blocking, but the magic has to go somewhere. I don't know if either of you have an idea on what to do with it at that point.
You would need a living vessel, or...
If you think you've got something fortified enough against magic that could keep the rest of it, keep whatever I pull contained, then I think that could work.
That's a good question. Can't say I've ever...
This particular kind of magic, this is the dark magic of the darkest kind, too. Ain't the same as, trying to coax some plants to grow, get them flowers to bloom. Hateful magic. It's that dark stuff. Now, if we had, I don't know, some rowan wood, or a yew tree, or anything of that nature, then that might help. I don't have any of that with me, other than my good walking stick here. And it's just it's a good dependable oak, but I don't know how well it'd do for that.
Have to see if any of that's growing around here then.
I'm gonna go poke my head outside. I'm gonna look through a window. I'm not sticking my head outside. I know we're in a protective bubble, but I'm just looking through a window to see if I recognize any of the trees in the area.
Yes, Emil's a little less paranoid, so he does go out into the porch.
Okay. So what I'll have you do is let's do it as a difficulty 9 intellect check. And actually for Ken, we'll say that's a difficulty 12 since you're not actually going outside.
That's fair.
Right.
Does perception-related tasks still count?
Yes.
And Emil is trained in herbalism. Imagine
Oh,
would that
okay.
help? Yeah.
Yes, actually that would help very good.
I also know herbalism, but I rolled a natural 1, so I don't see jack nor shit looking through the window. I get
Yeah,
spooked
that
by
might
my own reflection when I get too close.
with the lights from inside and everything, you're just you can't see very well out there. You're just getting a lot of reflection.
Okay, it's unfortunate that you got a 1, but thankfully I got a 17.
All right. So um so you go popping your head out there into the dark. Thankfully you were mindful enough to bring a light source with you. And you go poking around out there, and most of what you see is generally what you kind of expect to see in this area. There's nice hickory and some oak trees and the like kind of surrounding the property there. And it's cleared out a little ways, so you got to walk out just a bit away from the house. And it takes you a little bit to do it because you don't know what's out there. And
Mm-hmm.
unlike some people, you don't go flying off at the first sounds of someone calling your name. But you get out there and you start looking around, and there are some odder kinds of trees here, maybe some things that you don't quite expect to see out here. And one of them is indeed a yew tree. And while maybe trees aren't necessarily your special, but you know a little bit about different kinds of plants and the like, and well, yew trees are. This isn't exactly where they normally would grow, but apparently at some point in the past, someone has brought in a few. Um, it occurs to you that maybe Granny did it at some point in the past and just frankly just forgot about it.
Takes a long time for
About
those
200
trees to
years ago
grow.
or something. Because yew trees are very long lived. They're not exactly fast growing trees. So, but you figure that a decent sized branch off of something like that might be able to do the trick, at least as far as you know. At least it sounds like kind of what Ellis and Granny were talking about.
Okay. He does have a. Don't know if it would be enough to cut off a decent branch, but he does have a pocket knife, so could use that to start.
I mean, it's a bit of a struggle at first, but eventually you do get something off of it.
So he'll take that, and he'll come back inside, and he'll kind of hold up, and he's like, "Will this do the trick?"
I think so, Granny.
Where did you find that?
Oh, it was out there mixed with the rest of the trees. Are you sure you don't remember planting one of those out there?
She kind of looks up like she's thinking. I mean, hell, it's possible. I done 45 years ago. Who knows? But that there looks like a decent little yew branch there. I think that might just be possible. I've never done nothing like this before, though.
You and me both. All we can do at this point is try and hope it goes well.
All right. I will go and grab the branch and go over to Caleb.
Granny's going to totter into the kitchen real quick, and she comes back with a container of salt. And, she grabs one of the candles, comes over, and now Caleb, you want to hold real still for us, all right? We're gonna try to help some of what's been ailing you. You all right with that? He just kind of looks up at her and he's like, anything that might help, ma'am. I'm willing to. Please, whatever you all think might be good. She just kind of nods and she starts making a little circle of salt around y'all. Now, Emil, I'm assuming you're staying the heck out of the way for this part.
You put in a little bit of distance, just a safe amount of distance.
This is a little outside your typical field of study, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ellis, is there anything in particular you want to do ahead of time before you try to actually do this that might help or ameliorate some of the difficulty?
So I will use 2 intellect points for my applied observation ability. So I can observe a creature, object, or location for at least a round. The next time I interact with it, the action is eased.
Okay.
So I'm going to do that. And then this is, I feel like this is the phrase I'm using. This is a bit of a stretch, but I have I don't think that you're, I don't know, I'm just gonna say it. I have a special ability called Draw Item. A loose object within short range that I could carry in one hand is drawn to my free hand. This could just be for narrative flavor, but I'm kind of thinking into that mode of magic that I've used before for this very simple thing, and I'm kind of using that to help telegraph and get my brain into the mindset of how exactly I'm going to do this.
Okay.
But mechanically, applied observation is
Yeah.
is what I'm going with, because I think that's all I got.
Okay. So this is going to be a fairly difficult thing here.
Cool.
So your base target number for this is going to be 18. So with your ability you used, that is going to ease it by 1.
Okay.
So that puts you at a 15 for your difficulty.
Wait,
And
did you say I thought you said the base was 18.
Yeah. So it drops it down 1
Each.
difficulty level.
Oh, duh. I got you. Can't do math.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that takes you to 15. I will say with Granny's help, between her preparations and her kind of, I don't want to say coaching, but her presence there and kind of assisting you in a more esoteric, less visible way, that's going to ease it a little bit more as well. So that's going to give you a DC 12 intellect.
Could I drop it 1 with magic understanding magic being trained in that?
I'm going to say for this, no. I think it's about as far as you're going to get it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Couldn't she also apply effort if she wanted to?
Of course. You can always apply effort.
But I've already spent my... Whatever. This feels important. I'm going to apply effort. I've already spent my XP. I got no effort. I got no XP. We're just going to hope for the best.
Get it all!
I will say that as this is happening and Granny is preparing, Ellis looks mildly uncomfortable. Because this is interacting with this kind of magic in a way that typically they try to avoid. And particularly using the salt circle, the candle, the candle is probably the only real connection that Ellis is like, okay, like this is a form of magic and this is a centering that I understand. But the salt doesn't have as much meaning, the U doesn't have as much meaning. So I am a little put off by all of these steps, but I'm going along with it because respect your elders is universal also in Filipino culture. So Ellis is like, all right.
Tradition, Granny's tradition when it comes to this kind of working and that kind of stuff is definitely different from your own. So there's a little bit of all right.
Is that gonna help? But whatever, it makes her feel better, so I'll just let her do it. I'm kind of like, whatever. This is, how you feel comfortable playing along with it.
I will say, and just because it's come up right now, I will say that the way I view these things, a lot of the preparations and kind of stuff aren't necessarily metaphysical in and of themselves, but though they have more of an effect on the worker themselves. So those kind of things help Granny and make her more capable of doing things because Granny believes that this is how you do things. So,
and I think in the same moment, Ellis is probably reaching again to their pocket, which is an item that they have because they are beholden. They have never shown it to anybody, but I think that there's this moment of recognition of like, this is what Granny is doing to centering, and unwillingly, I am reaching for this item that does not have good memories for me, but I know is a source of power and somewhat strange comfort. So I think that there probably is a moment. Ellis is very confident in themselves, but they're not stupid, and they know when they're wrong. So I think that there's probably a moment of checking themselves of like, okay, Granny is very much helping me right now, and feeling a little bit more comforted by that. So I'm very afraid. I don't remember what dice rolled me a 1 last time, so I'm just not going to look and grab one of them.
Just grab one at random.
Yep, just hope for the best. I think you said a 12, and that's a 12 on the dot, and if you didn't say a 12, I'm going to be really sad right now.
I did say a 12.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
So, between the two of you, you look through these like symbols that you've written down and the places on the body and this kind of thing, and you think you have kind of narrowed it down to a particular symbol that is kind of right here at the top of the breastbone, and it's kind of a triangle with some lines to it and some kind of around the side that sort of connect to the bottom. It's not really a symbol that either of you recognize outright, but based on your knowledge of how these things work and how energy is channeled and this kind of thing, you can kind of narrow it down to this should have the effect that you're trying to ameliorate. And so you said about connecting, making this connection between this symbol and yourself as the intermediary and this branch, this living thing that you were trying to use to absorb that darkness. And when you first kind of forge this connection, you feel the terror and the shock and all this that has been built up in Caleb over what is probably a few weeks. And you're kind of stunned for a second. It just kind of hits you like a wave. And then because you have created this connection, it kind of washes through you. And you feel that branch in your hand. You feel it grows a little warmer as it is becoming sort of a sponge for these energies. And after that initial rush that kind of impact. It becomes far easier for you to handle. You have a grasp on what this power feels like. And eventually it kind of passes through you and you don't feel anything else. These last few trickles of this very specific energy, this purposeful energy, and you can feel there's more there that is not specifically connected to whatever has been holding Caleb's memory and thoughts in check. They have a similar feel or taste, as so you understand that whatever created this one that you're working also created all these other, whatever else has been done to this man. You also get the impression that trying to do something like this with the rest of that would be far more difficult, and that almost all the rest of it is all interconnected and intertwined, and attempting something like this with all of that, there's a good chance that either you or Caleb would probably die in the process. That being said, this falls away and that connection breaks when the last trickle is gone. And Caleb is still sitting there in the same spot, and he's kind of almost like falling back, with his hands braced on the floor, and he's looking up and blinking. And he just kind of stares at you for a second, like, what did you do? I remember things. I don't even... They came and they took me. I was on my way home and they snatched me right out of there and knocked me out. And when I come to, I was in a house and there are all these folks around there, but most of them were... God, I don't think most of them knew what was going on. They just kind of were quiet and did what they were told, but it was like they was sleepwalking. Like it was a dream for them. But then there was that man. I'd never seen him before, but he came to me and he talked about things, about something in the dark. Something that he just called him. He didn't tell me what it was, but he thanked me. He said, "Thank you. Your sacrifice. It'll let us bring him in. Bring him into this world." I don't know what it was. But whatever it is, it can't be good. And then he kind of sits up a little bit and rubs his wrists, and you can see on both wrists now that he's kind of rubbing at it. There are some marks there that look like they might be abrasions from like rope. They tied me down. They marked me. Steel was hot. It burned. And after a while, I didn't feel nothing no more. I think I passed out. And I woke up later and I don't know. For some reason, I was alone, but I managed to get out the door. I don't know. Wandered off into the woods until I found a road. Well, I think I told you the rest. I ended up here. I don't know. What are they trying to do out there? What do all these marks mean on me? What are they doing to me?
I wish I could tell you. Is there anything you remember about this man?
He was an older guy. I don't know, maybe 60 something. Something like that. He had gray hair, but there was still some dark to it. He had a beard. All bushy and thick, and kind of a larger fella. Like he ain't never missed a meal, you know what I mean? Like he eats well, and I think the house was, I think it was nice once upon a time, but it looked like it just hadn't been taken care of. And it smelled awful. It smelled like dead things. Like when you find a dead animal in the woods and you got that smell, it's sickly, and that's what his house smelled like. Makes me want to throw up just remembering it. It was so strong. I don't know.
Does that description sound familiar to us?
Nope.
Okay. I will look at Emil. Is there anything else that you feel like we should ask?
He gave us quite a bit, to be honest. Way more than we had before.
Yeah. I'm gonna turn back to Caleb. Let's get you somewhere comfortable. Let you rest. I don't know if there's a bed or a couch or somewhere that I can just let this poor man take a nap.
Granny will actually help you with that. She seems to know the house pretty well. You definitely get the impression she spent a lot of time there, and she kind of leads y'all to a guest bedroom. It's fairly bare, but there's a decent enough bed with a mattress and a blanket and such. And he passes out very quickly. Almost as soon as he hits the bed, he is gone in sleep. Feel like the exhaustion that he felt was definitely real, and not entirely caused by what had been done to him, but just the fact that he hadn't eaten much and had been wandering around in the woods for days. Granny has been mostly quiet.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'll have to keep an eye on him with everything he's been for. I wouldn't be surprised if he winds up with nightmares.
I mean, he said that all of those other people seemed to not know what was going on. We have no idea if any of those marks could be some kind of a controlling thing. Somebody could puppet him from afar.
Send you condolences. I think if they'd been able to do that, they would have done so already. They wouldn't have bothered sending all those mongrels after us.
That's true. I'm gonna turn to Granny. You have any insight on any of this?
This is bad. I don't know what they could be trying to call up out there, wherever that was, but anything that takes this sort of ritual and preparation to try to call up from the dark, it ain't a good job.
This house seems pretty safe. You think he's going to be safe here?
I have spent much time in this house. The widow is a very good friend of mine, and I have done my best to make sure that her domicile is very safe. I will not say that there's nothing that could get through what I have done here, but I'm fairly confident that we would know well before anything managed to break through. Now, I just need Yona to get back with them books. Speaking of, y'all have come to a clearing in the woods of sorts. And Yona, this clearing is very familiar to you, and you've spent a great deal of time here over the years as you approach Granny's cabin. And it really is a cabin. It's definitely not the grandiose house that the widow lives in. It is humble and small and made of wood, and it is open to you. And you know that you can take guests there without any ill effects or anything like that. So I will say, as y'all approach the cabin, you do feel a tingle for just an instant, like you're stepping through something. And Yona, you're completely used to it. You know that's like an everyday occurrence for you. But for those of you who are not used to it, it's almost, well, not that you've been around too much in the way of open electrical stuff, but you get a little bit too close and you feel that bit of tingle. That's kind of what it feels like. So Yona, you know the things that Granny was asking for. Most of that's going to be in her room. The exception of the map that she said was on top of the bookcase. So
Yeah. Kind of walk everyone up the porch. And look, Yona may be very, like, on the outside, very stoic. She's gonna fuck with them a little bit. Okay. All right. When you come up, take off your shoes, left one first, then the right. You gotta knock on the door frame and you gotta say hello to the house. Don't ask me, it's Granny's thing.
I do that.
Yeah.
100%.
You said left shoe first?
Left shoe first,
Left shoe.
Knock,
and then right
then
shoe.
hello.
And then knock, and then hello.
Hello, house.
Hello,
Perfect.
house.
All right. Stone face. I do not do the same thing when I go in. I live here. It's used to me.
Oh, the house is used to you. Okay.
Yeah.
Naturally.
So you step into Granny Thorne's little cabin, and inside it's very rustic. It is definitely very down home, backwoods kind of looking. This is not a woman who is particularly given to caring about material things and all that, but she does keep a nice, neat little house. Everything is in its place, and it's been cleaned well, and between Granny and Yona, everything is nice and organized and well done. You can see it's basically one sizable room with a couple of smaller rooms coming off to the side that you would guess are where folks sleep. One side of this main room is set up as like a kitchen area, and the rest of it there's a small table and a few bookcases and some cupboards and such. It looks well lived in and comfortable for all its simplicity and rusticness.
I guess make yourself as at home. I'll be real quick. I know where things are. So just tall bookshelf, but like at my eye level. Grab the map that's on the
Yeah,
top
you
of it.
you can see it's like right there for you. Like Granny would have had to have a step stool, but you're just like, yeah, there it is. And it's not like a huge map. It's probably about yay big, and it's all rolled up kind of tight and tied up with a ribbon. And you recognize that map. You know it's a map of it's like a regional kind of map.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go in and get the other things
Okay.
real quick. Find the necklace and her big book.
Her big book. So you head into Granny's little bedroom, and you don't go in there too much because that's Granny's private space. But she does have like the little vanity kind of thing on one side, and it kind of doubles as where she keeps all her random assortment of stuff, as well as like a little desk kind of deal. So there's a few books and papers and such scattered out there, and there's a little box that you recognize as her jewelry box. And while Granny never really wears jewelry, so to speak, she has some of these things that she has collected over the years that have been given to her as gifts or various other things. So it's fairly easy for you to find this gemstone that she's talking about. And she calls it a gemstone. Crystal is probably the better word for it. It's like almost like I know there's a word for the shape, but it's kind of long and pointy on one end. And it is set in like a silver like ring kind of thing, and attached to it a silver chain. Again, I know there are words for these things, but I cannot recall them at the moment. So that's fairly easy to find, as is. You know what the book is. It is Granny's big book of whatever she has written in it and collected over the years that she protects, but she never lets anybody else read it. But it is probably her most prized possession. It is a large leather-bound book. Not sure what kind of leather, but it's leather.
Concerning. We have to mention we don't know the leather.
But it is fairly easy to find as well. Because she just leaves it right out on the desk because she knows for damn sure that no one can touch that unless she wants them to.
There you go. I do hesitate for a minute. I'm like, please. Okay, good.
Easy enough to throw that stuff into like a little satchel or something to take with you. Now, is there anything else that you want to gather while you're there? Your own possessions, anything like that?
Yeah, so I think I'll just kind of grab my bag and make sure I've got, my extra ammo, some of my just general odds and ends, and little personal tchotchkes that might be for luck or just fiddling with when she's bored.
Sure.
But
so
other than that, pretty easy.
What are the rest of you doing while Yona's gathering things?
I think thoroughly being spooked by most everything that's happened. I don't take more than, I don't go further into the house than was necessary for the door to close behind me. And I have just been standing there still.
Okay. Where you're standing, kind of directly across the room from you is a bookshelf. And there's a few books on the shelves and things, but most of it seems to be taken up by, there's some plates and a few other little items and keepsakes and kind of stuff that a couple little carved wooden statue kind of thing, and but directly in front of you, like eye level, like it's looking right back at you, is some kind of animal skull. And it is like them eye holes are looking like right back at you.
I think I turn to probably Stella as I point my flashlight over it, and it's just like, that? I don't like that.
That's Charlie. You gotta say hi to him too.
Hi, Charlie.
Charlie does not answer.
That's for the best.
You're muted, JD.
I was saying, I probably would go sit down on a chair that's like just in that front room or couch or something, just
Mhm.
stretch my legs and, you know, rotate my ankles. Walking in boots for like hours, so I'm sure I'm probably pretty exhausted trying to keep up with Yona.
Understandable.
Just looking around and appreciating the quaint cabin. Pretty comfortable in weird, spooky places in the woods, so it's all good.
There's not a whole lot in the way of, furniture and such. There's, you got a table with about 3 chairs, and then there's a couple of rocking chairs. Looked like they were handmade by somebody 10, 15 years ago, maybe, something like that. They look like they've been around for a little while, but they're nice and sturdy and fairly comfortable. So what's Evelyn doing? Besides being muted.
Evelyn is looking around, definitely taking in sights. Definitely not touching a darn thing.
Probably smart. So Yona gathers all that she needs to gather. Things for herself and for Granny, and it looks like you're all ready to go. And you hear something from outside. Stella! Stella!
Do we all hear it this time?
You all hear the...
You expecting company, Stella?
No, it's probably that bird. I'm not going out there again.
Hear you, Stella.
You said it was a bird? Or
Mm-hmm.
projected itself as a bird to you?
Yeah, it looked like a bird, but it could talk. And birds can't talk.
I want to stand out on the porch, knowing that it's a little safer, and Yona probably doesn't fear as many things as she should. And just kind of flashlight scan the perimeter that isn't lit up.
So as you step out, you look out there, and from the porch you could see, where the path comes up to the house. And from experience, exactly where the demarcation is between what is Granny's land and what is everything else. And right at that edge, you see 2 figures standing there. They look like tall, kind of broad-shouldered men. Very, very similar in build and everything. When you shine your light at them, you can see their clothes are a little bit different. The clothes are just kind of haphazard and mismatched. Nothing particular about them, but and you see sitting on one shoulder of one of those figures is a small bird. You can't quite tell what kind of bird. Doesn't really stand out to you. It's definitely bird shaped.
I don't know who or what you are, but this ain't a convincing act. You better go on find someone else to call the name of, because we ain't playing your game.
I hear Stella.
Yeah. Good for you.
Can't stop them.
Them? Who might them be? Those dogs in the woods?
You can't stop them, Yona.
We'll see about that. You gonna try and stop us? Or you just here to be a bother?
Did you come out and find out?
No, I don't think I will. I'd like to just huck a fucking hatchet into one of their heads. And if I could, I have quick draw. I'll do one at each.
Abso-freaking-lutely. Love it. So let's see. Throwing stuff. How does throwing stuff work? Is that?
Oh, good question.
I'm just curious if that is considered. Would that be might or would that be speed?
It describes.
You know what? I will say, be your choice of might or speed.
Okay. And let's see. I don't really get any sort of benefits either way unless something specifically calls out you get a bonus to speed or a bonus to it. Right? Because like I have my pool points, which I know it can give effort, but
yeah.
make sure. Cool. It takes 2 speed points to do the quick throw, so I'll call it with the speed since that's one that specifically calls for points to be able to use that ability.
Makes sense.
The first one's an 18, and then I grab the other one real quick, which is a natural 20. Don't know if that matters in this game, but it's exciting.
So it does. So with a natural 20, that's what they call a special roll. Oh, let's see. So when a 19 or 20, you get to add basically an effect or something along those lines with a combat roll. 20 is a little bit better than a 19. So with a 19, you get to do what you call a minor effect, which can be a number of different things. Now with a 20, on the other hand, it is considered a major effect. And am I on the right page? I don't think I am.
Is it the special damage, or is there a different one?
Yeah, so it can do a couple of different things. It can, see, a major effect inflicts 4 additional points of damage with your attack, or you can choose instead to introduce a dramatic event such as knocking down your foe, stunning them, or taking an extra action.
Beautiful.
So it's kind of up to you. You can either do more damage, or you can have it do something additional. And especially with a 20, I'm pretty flexible about what you might want that to be, as long as it makes sense.
Could I have the 18 hits just the one guy that does not have the bird?
Okay.
Could the 20 hit into the shoulder and the bird? Like, so I was aiming for the dude. Could it hit the dude and the bird?
Yes.
Do that, I think. So then just additional damage or special there.
So you've got these 2 figures there, and Yuna's had it. I ain't putting up with their bullshit.
No.
So that first axe comes whipping out of there, quick as lightning, smacks right into that clavicle area right there. And you see that figure just twist and fall and hit the ground, and even before he has hit the ground, the second axe is already in the air, and it goes end over end, and it is just so perfectly aimed and with just enough force behind it that it thunks straight in, and it bisects that little songbird before it can move and dives deep into that meaty part of that figure's shoulder. And the bird, nothing comes out of that bird. All you see is a puff of ash as it just bursts. And that axe is driven into that being's shoulder, and for a second nothing happens. It just kind of reels a little bit from the impact and then straightens and then just collapses like a puppet with its strings cut. Neither one of them moves.
The border on this that Granny has put up.
Mhm.
Look, my pop cultural knowledge of these sort of situations is like Winona Earp and Supernatural. So could I like force them across the line and it really fuck up whatever supernatural things is going on in that body?
Probably not.
Okay. It's more keeps them out, not like damages like the light did to the other one.
Right.
Okay. All right. We might want to put our shoes on. Might take a second for that bird to build its new puppets. Or reform, or whatever the fuck just happened.
I put my shoes on.
Yep. I'm gonna get my shoes back on.
I'll grab the bag. You gotta say bye to Charlie before we go. Step back out the door.
Lean in.
Charlie.
Bye, Charlie. Bye, house.
Oh, that's nice. I never thought to say bye to the house. I bet it appreciates that.
This is coming from me. Would Granny have like a herb garden, possibly plants outside?
Not from where you can see. And you imagine there probably is one around here, but not on the side of the cabin that you are at.
We don't have time to, unless Yona, your Granny has some dried herbs, yarrow, rue, lavender,
Oh,
hanging about.
You know Granny does have a collection of dried herbs that she keeps around. Whether or not she'd appreciate people going through them.
But
But
she's
there's
not
a
After
question.
what I've
going to
seen
do that.
tonight, I'd be willing to take the brunt of the anger if you steal some lavender. I think we got extenuating circumstances. We can roll with some more. Get like just a little satchel from out of there and go through a little
Yeah,
cabinet
I mean,
and kind of get pinches of whatever it is you need.
it's a fairly decent collection of stuff. There's not a lot of stuff that would be, like belladonna or, things like that. She doesn't really grow and keep, but more, the typical herbs and various things she definitely has.
Yeah, especially if there's like dried lavender stalks. If possible, I would like to kind of. I have used magic, not used magic, but well, using magic, I do have trade, but craft magic as a trained skill, and I just kind of want to maybe take some of the dry lavender, like I said, if there's like stalks of like yarrow or rue, which are like little
Mhm.
flowery plants, and just kind of braid them together.
I'd
Trying to
say you
just
could
make
do
like
that
a
as you're
little,
walking, yeah.
yeah, just like a little protection strand, and immediately hand the first one to Stella, considering the birds were after her first.
Yeah. There's enough little stalks there. You can kind of braid them together into a few little, like, bracelet sized little things. I don't think Granny'd be too angry about it.
Now this is just help. It's not something I can throw a lot of power at. It's not fresh, and not I don't have enough time to really imbue it that much, but better chance than facing alone.
You'd be surprised what a few good herbs can do. So appreciate it.
Much appreciated.
We'll take all the help we can get.
Mhm.
And then I think Virgil, who has been fairly quiet, starts nervous talking, or what he hope is coming off as nervous talking, as he, uh, you know, and it kind of comes across as trying to maybe comfort Stella, and then talk about how great Yona did, and I'll be basically just using my encouragement ability to give us all eased defense tasks for a while.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, so Virgil's over there just kind of flapping at the gums at the moment.
Trying
So
to be
y'all,
like really polite, being like, "Yeah, thank you, appreciate it." But I'm like trying to listen past his talking.
and so y'all start making your way back to the trail and everything, and you get to the point where those two figures are still laying there, and neither one of them's moved. Yeah.
Check their pockets or anything, see if there's any sort of markings on them or like
Mhm.
anything weird, just like Caleb or of that variety.
Nothing quite like that. But you do get the feeling that both of these folks have been dead for quite some time. And now that you are close enough, you get that little whiff of not quite like, fresh killed stuff. It's not rotting, anything like that, but there's a tang in the air that you recognize as something dead that's been dead for quite a while. There's no blood where your axes hit them or anything like that. Almost like they've been dried
Hand
out.
axes out. Part of me wants to just hope that the wolves will come and grab them at some point in time tonight, but I really don't want to come home to this stinky tomorrow. Shit. I'm just kind of like, as we walk, I'm just dragging them for a little bit till we get further from the house.
They're surprisingly light.
Oh, they should not be this light, y'all.
You're doing great.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah. She's put gloves on. Just like, ew. But yeah, once we get a good bit, maybe down the hill, kind of just like, I don't know you, but rest in peace. Shove them off the hill. I'll come back for you, maybe.
He'll roll them down into a gully.
Just leave them for the green, Ms. Yona. It takes care of them.
Yeah.
So,
Just not quite used to it being people and not like deer.
that said, you begin making your way back down to town. And it's, despite everything that's gone on, it's not an unpleasant walk back. No more birds calling your names. No more walking dead men. No misshapen wolf critters. You make it back to town without further incident. Slip on through. Town's still quiet, just like you left it. Folks tucked into bed by this point. See a few lights here and there. There's always at least one night owl. And then you head up and make it back to the widow's house. You just come on in, because obviously they're expecting you. You get in and you find that Caleb's nowhere to be seen. But everybody else is basically where you left him, there in the living room. They kind of look up when you come through, and Granny's like, "Oh, you made it back. Excellent. Did you bring my book?"
Got your book, got your pendulum or necklace? Was it a circlet or just a chain?
It was on a chain with a, well, so yeah, it's basically a pendulum. It's a pendulum disguised as a necklace, is what it is.
Beautiful. I'm like pinning a necklace and Matt.
Good job, child. I knew I could count on you.
Yeah.
Hopefully, with all this, we might be able to find some answers.
Just gonna give you a warning. If we head home like in the next couple of days, there's a couple of dead bodies in the gully on the way there.
Yona, you been killing folk?
Well, I killed undead folk.
Not quite sure they were folk anymore, Granny.
Yeah, they were kind of being puppeted by a bird.
A bird? The hell birds got to do with nothing?
I'll just look over to Stella. You can explain that one.
Well, it called to me in the woods, and then I ran away, and it followed us to the cabin.
The bird did.
Well, it weren't no real bird.
Was the bird talking to you?
Yeah, and it seems to know what we're up to. Obviously, knew our names and said we can't stop it, them,
Them?
Them.
Oh, I see. Yeah, well, I agree with you. That weren't no bird. Seemed like to me that was ascended.
What?
Well, whoever it was that's doing all this, and we got some things to tell you too. Whoever it is, how do I put this? They made the bird kind of out of, you make it out of, usually you can make it out of dirt, mud, clay, ashes, anything of this kind of stuff. And
what's this?
ashes, there you go. That makes a lot of sense. And basically what you can do is you send that thing out there and you can hear through it, you can see through it, you can talk through it. And it's dark stuff. You got to use some of your blood to do it and all kind of stuff. It is not something to be playing with now. And so these folks will use these kind of sendings to do things at a distance when they can't be there.
Well, they know where we live now.
And I'm guessing they probably followed Mr. Caleb somehow.
Probably those homing beacons.
Damn. But well, we got some information ourselves. But honestly, folks, I'm a tired old lady. I think for the night we should just bunk down, and in the morning we can make some plans and figure out what's going on. I'm sure Gregory ain't gonna mind if y'all just camp out here for the night. There's a nice couch and a couple of extra beds, and I think we'll be just fine right here. Is if this whoever it is, if he knows who you are, I don't think I'm very comfortable with y'all just wandering away.
Sounds like a good idea if I say so.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, and from that point, Granny will kind of show you where things are. Some extra blankets, that kind of stuff. If you're hungry, she'll find you a little snack. And get you settled in for the night.
I think
And I
Yona
believe-
does like, again, full dad and just sleeps on like a rocking chair on the front porch, shotgun in hand. But it's like posted at
Granny
the
don't
front
even
door.
say nothing because she's used to you doing stuff like that. She's just like, man,
Yeah.
yes, Yona. That's what she does. And I think at that point, let's see, what time is it? It is, yeah. I think that's a good place to end this particular episode. And all right, so I think from there we can go around and have you introduce yourselves again and let people know where they can find you. And then we'll see you back next week. All right. Kian, why don't you start us off because I like to pick on you apparently.
No worries. Hello, everybody. My name is Kian. You can find me on Twitter at uptight_chiffon. You can find me on Blue Sky at uptight-chiffon. I have been Ellis Witt tonight. Just a little lad, just vibing. Yeah, go ahead and follow me on social media, and that will let you know where I'm going to be next. That's me.
JD.
Hello, I am JD. Tonight I have been Stella, and you can find me as JD Lane across the internet. Yeah.
Alice.
Hi guys, I am Alice. You can find me pretty much everywhere online at Alice Heart or Hellion Heart. Keep an eye out on social media for where you're gonna go next.
Go ahead, Owen.
I'm Zunia. Tonight I have been Emil Pierce. You can find me over at Blue Sky at Omen-Zunia.
Sean.
I'm Sean. Tonight I have been Virgil Stokes. You can find me on Twitter at the Sidian, Sidion, or everywhere else as just Sidian.
Okay. And last but not least, Taylor with the incredible earrings there. I think I'm just noticing.
Thank you.
Yes, that's very cool.
Yes, I'm Taylor, or at Potato, or put underscores before and after if you're on Twitter stills. That's where you can find me, and I've been your Yona tonight, a currently vigilant protector. I don't think vengeful quite yet. Y'all haven't seen that.
You haven't got.
Very
We haven't got
vigilant.
to the vengeful part yet.
Lordy.
We'll work their way there. And I have been your narrator / game master, whatever you want to call it tonight. My name is Rise, Rize. You can find me on Blue Sky under that name, or you can find me on Threads and Instagram under Raven Black Photography, which is just kind of a little side gig thing that I do. So other than that, we look forward to seeing you next time. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with us and checking out this little story that we got going on. And I can guarantee you it's just going to keep getting weirder. That is my one and only goal, is to make this weird for everybody involved. So we hope you'll be part of it. Thanks for watching. Everybody take care of yourselves.